Tata Institute of Social Sciences. By the name Tata Institute sounds like I'm representing corporate India, but I'm heavily funded by Ministry of HRD. And currently we are collaborating with you in terms of rural entrepreneurship program, partnering with you and NIOS. Institutionally and individually, we work on rural development and equity issue. So what I would like to emphasize in terms of the national postal bill, that's a real, game-changing legislative initiative that is going to take place under your leadership. That somehow, in terms of the debate between profitability and equity, we need to look at equity carefully, sir. Recently, sir, I covered, in terms of my own involvement with MG Narega, I covered a large, territory in the country from Pithoragarh to Malkangiri, sir. And just a good news I want to share with you, and also want to, highlight here in terms of my involvement with other stakeholders, that India Post hasn't failed. It hasn't collapsed, Because from Pithoragarh to Malkangiri, in those difficult, challenging situations and conditions, India Post is there and working with not a great deal of efficiency, but some efficiency, which is helping poor, rural poor primarily. For instance, I worry about, because I haven't seen anything in terms of, the department's response when we are creating a new paradigm for shift from a total governmental monopoly to a kind of corporatized or public-private partnership model. How we would like to work in Naxal-affected areas like in Malkangiri, where, the post master is not only making sure that the payment reaches these so-called affected population, but also helping other ministries. In fact, I share with you, sir, this information that the postmasters are also updating our job cards, additional responsibility where none is available today. So there is a lot of issues we need to keep it in mind when we reinvent the wheel and move over to a new paradigm, sir. In this process, we should not get lost by the new mantras of corporatization, but need to look at what capacity we need to invest into, so that we continue to get engaged with those socially excluded, underserved areas and populations, sir. That's my real worry, sir. I think, in the bill, we need to have a focused, attention with regard to these challenges in rural India, especially in Naxal-affected areas. Two, sir, in terms of the regulatory mechanism, sir, we are aware, in terms of the literature evidence and also the actual evidence, the regulators often work on their own priorities, and they also influence the processes. So we need to spell out a clear-cut accountability mechanism in the regulatory framework. Otherwise, what is called that we will end up paying a huge governance cost. So we need to, come out with some kind of framework, whether we want a postal regulatory authority or we want a postal regulatory commission. Because if you look at, the American experience, which has a historically most robust experience in terms of the engagement of the postal department with the state-society interaction, that they have a commission which also goes for public hearing with the stakeholders. So we need to identify, what are the stages, sir. Perhaps in this era of transparency and accountability, this new framework of regulation need to speak to social auditing or public hearing, sir. I stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.